Hi, I'm Claudia and I'm the interview editor at Palatinate.
Hi, I'm Bella and I'm profile editor at Palatinate. And today we're going to be interviewing Durham's Challenge team who have just got through the second round of the competition. Harry?
Hi, I'm Harry. I'm from Sevenoaks in Kent and I study liberal arts.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm from Shipsnell Stour in Warwickshire. I was studying for a BA in history and I'm now studying for an MA in history.
Hi, I'm Holly. I'm from Regan near Brighton and I'm studying physics.
Hi, I'm Thomas from Ramsgate, Kent, and I'm studying biology.
Just like being there.
I missed that.
Perfect.
So nostalgic.
So I think we're going to kick off just by, we're intrigued to know why it was that you wanted to get involved with the University Challenge. Did you know anyone who'd done it before? Was it like an obvious thing that you always wanted to do, or was it more something that happened when you came to uni, I suppose?
We're beginning with Harry, but that makes sense. We're going like along the line.
So it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, actually. I wasn't great at like trivia, but I was always decent at it. So I've wanted to do it since probably like 15, 16. I decided that it was something that I might like to do. Went over to the trial and somehow managed to lodge my way into the team. So, it's been great.
Yeah, kind of similar with me, really. It's like one of those things people always said they thought I'd end up doing at some point, kind of as a joke. And then I did like quizzing and stuff in school. And then I tried out in first year and made it to like the final 40 or something. Then didn't hear back, and then I didn't bother in second year. And then start of last year, I thought, well, it's probably going to be my final year to try out. So why not? And I got on madly.
Oh, bless you. I've always loved University Challenge as a show, and it's one of those things where it's one of those things that you see and you're like, wow, how amazing would that be? But you never think that you'll ever be in that position. But here we are. It's so similar. I've always enjoyed like quizzes and stuff, and then I tried out for college, and then it went sort of from there. When Tom was saying about the final 40, I had the email about that saying, and then come down to sort of the final test at the end. And I was 50-50 on whether or not I actually went. I really nearly didn't go because I was like, it's not worth it. But I'm glad I did now. So.
As for me, I'm somewhat ashamed to admit I can't remember how I originally ended up hearing of the university's internal competition. But I ended up trying out a couple of times during an undergrad, and in fourth year I found my final chance, and I just ended up there, really.
Amazing.
We all fell into this, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit.
We tripped and fell our way through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think people will be intrigued to know a bit more about what a typical day of shooting looks like. Did you have to refilm any parts? Were there any like behind the scenes things that people might want to hear about?
I'm not quite sure how much we're allowed to say. But
I think what you see on TV is pretty close to live almost. It's pretty close. Like I remember before, I read an article when I was probably 16, 17 about sort of what's it like to be on University Challenge. And somebody said, don't feel bad if you're not getting any answers at home, because what they do is they read out hundreds of questions and then they edit together the ones. And that's not quite true. I
wish. I wish we had 100 chances to answer questions.
I think in all of the matches we sat, there were probably fewer than 5 questions where he read the starter and neither team got it. Which I thought would be really common. But it's not. It's pretty much what you see is what happened, really.
It's almost identical. There's very little difference between the filmed product and the final product. But they did manage to edit out, a little bit. So I think that's what we can say. Accusing a few of my wayward guesses, so that's nice.
Harry, because you study liberal arts, did you find that it was like an advantage to have sort of like more background in like multiple humanities, or were you just more like worried about the sciencey questions coming up, I guess?
So I basically like, it's bad, but I basically turn off when I hear anything to do with science.
Yeah.
Just sort of like almost just pretended like it was almost like I wasn't listening. You know, that was a nice time to take a water break or something. You know, University Challenge is so much about breadth. Over almost all, I would say it's more breadth over depth, certainly. I did, however, find that sometimes my knowledge was a little bit too broad. Sometimes I think it helped me definitely to get on the team, like being a liberal arts student, being able to study what I wanted, doing some interesting stuff, and it helped with some really with some answers. But at the same time, like actually, like I feel like my strength was geography, which isn't my degree at all. So it's it was helpful, like in points, but also at the same time, like so many of the best like quizzes are like single subject majors, I guess, like Tom, Holly, and Tom. So you know, like I didn't find it that useful.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Holly, I think we've got to ask about like your reaction to finding out about the fact that it was the first show where both captains were female.
Yeah.
Was it cool to be part of that?
I had no idea until like a few days after the match was aired that was the case. It was definitely the first of that series. There was a previous match where there's been a scandal on it. There was a match where one of the captains was female and one of them was non-binary. So that's also fantastic representation as well. Yeah, it's weird to be like part of history, I guess. It's a shame that it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But so this is series 50, or series 27 with like the current filming community, I guess. But the show has been running for 50 seasons. I just hope we get more with female captains. I'd like to see an all-female team. Yeah. I'd like to see multiple all-female teams. But yeah, it was really cool to be a part of, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess what ways did the pandemic affect the filming? Did it make things very different? Did it change the way that you maybe interact with some of the other teams, or was that not so different?
A bit, yeah. They had to separate us quite a lot. The teams, not us.
Yeah. Apparently it was a lot less sociable this year than it was in other years, because we weren't technically allowed to socialize in the studio. Right. There was still, from the quarterfinals, there was a lot more socializing going on, but we had less opportunity to sort of meet the other teams after it hit.
Yeah, and was it weird? Like, was it weird having the screens between you? Was that?
I love the screens.
Somehow it made it a little bit better, actually, in some ways.
They grow on you.
Yeah, because you can like, the audience can now fully hear everything we say, whether it's like we can hear our stupid suggestions, and they can hear our, you know.
And it's easier as captain as well, because you can easily hear the whole line of people, like, to confer.
Yeah.
I noticed in the most recent match that Pax, like, he was a bit more lenient with a few of the answers, and I don't know was he accounting for the fact that it might have been a bit more difficult to hear?
Possibly.
I just think he woke up on the right side of the bed that morning.
We had one where he was really quite nasty.
Yeah, I wonder if that will be left in.
But perhaps he was just in a bad mood.
It very much depends on Jeremy's mood. I think a lot of the program depends on Jeremy.
As it goes on. Yeah. So 3 of you are from Van Milder, and we were just wondering, is this a coincidence, or did you all kind of apply at the same time?
I think that is a coincidence.
Yeah, it is a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah.
I wasn't on the Van Milder team that got to the inter-college quizzes. I was on the wildcard team. So it was me and a bunch of 3 other people who I'd never met at different colleges. And as I recall, we lost every single one of our matches, including to Milder. So how I ended up there must have been a clerical error.
I think you had the college tournaments, but throughout that they were focusing on the individual best buzzers rather than the best team. So I think I suppose it is just chance that we're all from the same college. Well, the three of us are. Yeah.
Mm.
Huge
Actually,
props to them.
Sorry, can you talk through how the application works? So what are the individual rounds? What do they look like?
Yeah, so
The
I do that?
international championships, or
I mean, like it's just huge props to the student union for our year. I want to say, because they were so
Very much so.
systematic. It was fantastic. Matthew Toynbee as well, and all the other guys who helped out. Joe Cooper and all of them.
The team before our year, absolutely.
They were fantastic. Joe Cooper, Arthur Raffle,
They were like my
amazing.
dads, right?
In the way that they did it, and so I mean, like, we had a paper test that everyone could attend, and then the teams were selected, and then they did a round robin tournament, found the best players, I guess, somehow, and then selected that, and then invited them all to that room that Holly came or almost didn't come to, and then they selected them from there.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah,
great.
and that final paper assessment was it was marked in such a way as that the final team would have like a good balance of subject areas. So just getting a very high score on it wasn't particularly important. It was good to show that you'd have someone who was good at history, and then someone who was good at sciences, and someone like Harry who's good at literature and geography, and all the other things Harry's good at.
We're all good at everything. Let's stop.
And as an added good omen, if I recollect, Holly and I, when we were walking back from the final selection, we bumped into Badger, didn't we?
Badger the cat. We did bump into Badger, the cathedral cat. Yeah, we did.
Oh,
Very good omens.
I don't know if he was a good omen.
Oh,
for
can't
sure.
say.
But I like, also in terms of like getting on the program, definitely like the hardest stage was probably like we were the team, but going for the interviews to get on
Oh my
to the
god,
program.
interview.
That was the
How
worst
much
thing
can we talk
ever.
about those?
Probably not a lot, but what I can say is, because I'd already told everyone that I was on the team, so I would have been really awful if
That's
I.
the most nerve-wracking bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the most nerve-wracking bit. To like say, actually, no, we didn't get through.
There's an interview to make sure that you'll make good television. So I think they probably can tell you. We can probably say that they told us at the interview, we're looking for people who score well on. So there's another test basically. You're selected as a team from your college. You then apply to like the TV show, and then you have an interview. So they talk to you informally as well as like giving you like another exam, and they're looking for people who will be good entertainment, like teams that they like. Because apparently some people watch University Challenge for fun. Some people don't sit and answer the question.
People watching.
Someone tell my dad.
We're enjoyable television. So.
So go around and everyone just say what sort of questions you like want to come up, you love to see, and also by the same token, which questions do you dread?
So I absolutely love geography questions, particularly if they're about something a bit obscure. I just really like that kind of thing. But also like literature that I actually know is always really helpful, because it makes me feel clever and makes me know that makes me feel like I actually know my degree. And my nightmare is science or classical music, which I just leave to
Tom is such a star.
to take it, because they know much more than me.
Yeah, I'm in the opposite position where I look forward to the classical music questions. So we were quite fortunate in the first 2 rounds to have classical music bonuses. So yeah, and it's not like I listen to classical music exclusively, so I don't know why I'm so good at them. I've just made a career out of being the music guy on the team. But aside from that, obviously the history questions, the more the obscure the better. And then like Harry, I kind of switch off with the science ones, unless it's something like tell me the name of this scientist.
You're definitely better than me at that science questions. That's yeah.
It's like
you actually have a vague idea what's going on.
Or it's like, what's the Latin name of this animal or something like that? I could have a stab at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd leave leave science to the other 2.
Thank you. I really like flags. I wish we'd had more flags. I really like flags and national flags, but also things like state flags, county flags, things like that. Yeah, I quite like map. I'm not as good at obscure maps as Harry, but I quite like maps, sort of like what's this county, what's this state or something. I really wanted dark matter to come up because that's my like exact field of research, and there's only a certain, because it's quite emerging, there's only a certain amount of questions you can ask about it. So I would have hoped they'd have been quite nice. And popular music as well, because I listen to a lot of sort of 70s and 80s stuff. Like when I've watched the classical music rounds in other matches, I've tended to be pretty good at those. So yeah, obviously plus science in general, I guess. Not classical music, but that's what one's for. So
and science questions are obviously something I'd welcome. Also a bit of classics and world history. That said, in a way, science questions are also what I dread, especially biology, my subject, because, you know, greater embarrassment if you miss it.
Oh, yeah.
what was it you said? I like questions about women.
Yeah, I can imagine it puts the pressure on if you get a question about your subject and then
Oh,
your
yeah.
mind goes blank.
It's very embarrassing. It's even more embarrassing if you lose 5 points for it.
Absolutely.
Oh.
All the time.
We have had a few howlers actually.
Me.
And
Always.
so how did you all go about preparing for the show? Like, did you kind of choose specific subject areas to swat up on?
We did to an extent, I think.
To an
I think-
extent, yeah.
I feel like we did more prep than we realised. Like,
We tried to
it's-
delegate. I have a
True.
great big Word document called, I think it's just called like University Challenge document, and it's just lists of sort of, I won't screen share it, but I'll see if I can find it. It's on my desktop. So I've got things like, so geography, like quizzes of things like US states, Canadian provinces. So yes, quizzes that involve sort of lists. So sort of, we all try to pick a Nobel Prize subject, for example, and try and
It didn't
do like,
come up.
what it
Yeah,
is.
no,
Yeah.
I also feel like being on this show is kind of a mindset thing though as well. You just sort of have to, rather than letting like information pass you by, you sort of have to say like, okay, I should probably try and remember that as well. You just sort of, hey,
Comes
like,
almost a reflex.
rather than just reading like something over and being like, that's not relevant. Everything becomes relevant that you do.
I'm still guilty of doing it and forgetting that
Yeah.
I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Like a guy on my corridor was talking about amino acids, and I was like, do I still know all the amino acids? And then I thought, well, I don't have to know them anymore. But unfortunately,
yeah, I mean, watching old episodes is actually surprisingly useful, because even though you know the same questions are never going to come up again, there's always like little extra bits of information embedded in the question before you get to the answer that you can pick up and work back from to relate to other things to eventually get the answer. So yeah, you do become sort of like constantly switched on to random facts, and it's quite difficult to switch off again afterwards.
Yeah.
it is difficult.
Are you guys tempted to go on any other quiz shows in the future and try and make use of that extra knowledge you've kind of built up?
Tempted by Only
Why not?
Connect.
I'd go on the chase.
I do love Only Connect actually.
I like now I can't really watch University Challenge anymore. Only Connect is the most.
I love Only
I think it's so fun. It looks like so much fun. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to be that guy who goes on all the quiz shows. So
I think I'd like to keep quizzing to an extent, but I actually found, I would in no way say it was a negative experience, but I would say that I found the fact that it was a TV show and not just a quiz competition made it a lot scarier. Like, I wouldn't say I was like, I've never done like drama or theatre or anything. Like, I'm not used to being filmed extensively on camera, and I found that not uncomfortable, but for a while it was quite like disconcerting. And I think of a lot of the time, especially with our own subjects, when we do make silly mistakes, it's because it is quite scary. Like to be sat there, to be and on a show that's such like a British institution now, like University Challenge, and when you hear like the theme music go off, you think, oh god, this is real.
People can like, I think we've been quite lucky, at least I have, but people can be really mean about you being on the program. So yeah. it's a little bit scary every time.
Yeah, on Twitter it's quite savage. So
Oh,
It's savage, so
horrible.
savage,
Oh,
so
yeah.
savage.
Horrible.
yeah,
I think in comparison to some other teams, we do fine. I think people, but some people just get
You
completely
see some just
destroyed.
horrible stuff.
They're just normal people, you know. Like.
yeah, I know, it's horrible. So just final question. Did you guys feel a lot of pressure on the build up to this match in particular because of the Durham Edinburgh history? Like, did you feel quite intimidated by the match?
We find
Don't
out
think-
who we're playing when we arrive, so we didn't have time.
Oh god.
When we heard Edinburgh, I think we were lucky that we hadn't seen them play in like already, because there was like
That's what's scary at the quarterfinals, because also then to the quarterfinals, we're now in the final 8. You know who those 8 teams are, whereas at the beginning there's 28 teams. You could play anybody.
So all we knew is that they lost their first game and then won their playoff, which means they had like momentum going forward. They'd already won a game after lockdown, so they were already they were going to be hot on the buzzer,
And they were.
and they were
They were very good.
they were a really great team.
They had us in the first half.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, they were really fast out of the gates, and then you guys kind of picked it
I
back.
feel like their strength was starters, whereas our strength was the bonuses. Especially in the first few starters, they'd get a lot of starters, but then I think I think they just fell badly for them, the questions that they got. But
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of people on Twitter and some podcasts and stuff that like do number crunching based on University Challenge statistics, like it's horse racing or something. And like one of the useful bits of information from that is that we had a higher bonus conversion percentage than Edinburgh, which was really where what was it, like 20 points or something like that? That's really where that came from.
and also if you buzz more, I guess if you think about it, the more you buzz, the more percentage you're likely to lose points. I know that's like bad maths, but like if you're so buzzer happy, you might end up getting like a -5.
Yeah.
Which I guess if you are on like big points and you're really close to each other, that could be the difference.
Yeah, and I guess like bonuses are the depth and buzzers are the breadth. So they, I just feel that's where we might have got a one up on them, and we were just we rode our luck as well. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I think that's all the questions we had. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
And have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.